Continuing on with Severin's 4K releases, the third and final thus far is Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens, released in 1979 and written by Roger Ebert, which is just baffling, because I would say that this one is probably the one with the least amount of actual story within it. Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens is almost like vignettes as it jumps through various sexcapades, sometimes involving the same characters, sometimes mixing up pairings or different aspects of them. And we kind of have a narrator talking about these small towns, America, typical people who all seem to have these sexual proclivities of one way or another, and how they're a little bit detrimental to each other's health.
Small town is like your town and my town, where Main Street still works. If you're still searching for the American dream, then search no longer.
And we're introduced to Lamar, our main character, who has a bit of a hang-up. He has a bit of a sexual hurdle that he needs to get over, although he doesn't really try too hard to get over it, often indulging in it, much to the chagrin of his girlfriend Levonna, who is set out to try and fix him along his merry ways, which basically facilitates the endless procession of crazy sexcapades throughout this one. And there is something still remarkably charming about this film, and again, put it down to Russ Meyer's direction and these characters, the way he shoots, ramps up the speed, turns what could be kind of sordid stuff into hijinks and comedy at certain moments. But again, when you dig into this one, when you look a little bit further than just the base surface of this one, you start to see the horrible nature of humanity, pretty much. A lot of the people here are just raping each other a lot of the time. There is seemingly no consensual sex where everybody is up for it, looking forward to it. It seems to be something where one person has to attack the other. Quite often, females attacking the males in this one. And some of the males just are babbling imbeciles or one-note characters, of which that's familiar within Meyer stuff so far. But the real lack of story is something that I get hung up on here, something that I couldn't get by a lot within this one.
But this is a case for the record books. A handsome young man with a beautiful woman, and he can only satisfy his needs by, well, you know, Lamar's problem.
This almost feels like someone aping Meyer, taking everything that he does and just pushing it just over the line. You know, where Meyer always took things right up to the line, he kind of stopped. This is one where he steps over a little bit, and I think it's lesser because of that, because it pushes a little bit more boundaries, because it becomes far more sexualized in some of his other films, and becomes a kind of nasty driving force of this film. There are some moments that are really interesting in this one, particularly the final 10 minutes when Russ himself comes into the film, breaking the third wall and breaking down the barrier, really, as it feels like it is his last film, and he knew it was going to be his last film and he was never going to make anything after this. Now, I don't know if that's the case, because all I know about Myers is his films and not really much about the legacy other than that, but there is a kind of solemn wrap-up here where he's almost packing away his equipment, putting away his camera, losing his crew, and it's a strange addition to the film, but somehow fitting and adds a little bit of panache at the end of this one.
Where in the hell's the crew? Well, no matter. Let me check out on a historical note.
This is an even more exaggerated world in which we have stepped into. Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens is a world where everyone is ramped up to 11 and pushing much further than that if they possibly can. The characters are impossibly top-heavy and over the top and giggly and aggressive. The male characters are dumb, they are brutes, they are people who have to be told what to do, led by their hand like lost children. The narrator was someone that I found to be really interesting. I liked whenever he came up commenting, giving his own little spin on what he perceived was happening within the world of his little town, whether it was right or wrong. It was always interesting. I thought the evangelic radio host, supposed anyway, Euphoria Roop, was really hilarious. It was cheesy and camp and kitsch, but at the same time, everything she was saying was really kind of funny.
Rio Deer Radio, 100,000 watts of clear channel healing on the salvation of the Southwest.
A lot going on for this one, where it was really interesting to sit down and watch, but the lack of story was really distracting, and the fact that it would take these vignettes and nip off for 10 minutes in a different kind of sexcapade that was unrelated to the main story was silly, but it didn't really detract from the film because there was no real through line anyway. It's a weird mix. It's one that's, again, I was happy to see. It's one that I definitely remember seeing a few times back in the 90s, because I think this was one that was constantly on Sky when they were doing their Russ Meyer collection. And it's fine. Again, another good one. But I still think his earlier stuff is way better. I still marvelled that these have got releases, and they've got such lavish releases. Again, this one looks tremendous on 4K. It's got a wealth of extras, of which we're going to dive in and have a look. Right. Here we are in the disc of Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens. Let's go to the bonus features. First up, we have an archival audio commentary with Russ Meyer. Next, we have the Latin Brunhilde interview with actress Kitten Natividad. This was a great extra and runs at just around 17 minutes. She is captivating. She is enlightening with a lot of the information. I could have sat and listened to her just going for much longer. It does end rather bitterly, I suppose, a little bit of a somber, sad end to the conversation, but other than that, great stuff. Then we have Talk It Over. Ellen Adelstein interviews Russ Meyer for her Tucson talk show in 1979. This was 23 minutes 28 seconds, and it felt very kind of adversarial. Two people discussing a topic with opposing views. It was interesting and nice to see a kind of balanced discussion. And then we have Still Talking It Over, a new interview with Ellen Adelstein, which was 7 minutes 20 seconds. Recent interview where she's just talking about her experience, her program that she had, and why she did it, and the kind of interviews that she had. And then we have the trailers as well. And that's the extras for Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens. So there we have it. Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens. Great, rounding out the sort of thematic trilogy of Vixens, Super Vixens, and Ultra Vixens here. I would say, if you remember these at all, pick them up. They're a product of their time. They've been locked away for such a long while. It's just great to be able to get physical copies of these films again. I'd love to know if you're picking this one up, if you're picking up any of these films. What do you want to see released next in this range? I'm hoping for a couple myself. Let's just wait and see if Severin release them sooner rather than later. As always, there is more content up here. You can see more of my stuff in the description box below, or links to Patreon, membership program, manvfilm.com, always in which you can support me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.